So last time we looked at absolute values and how to evaluate them. Now we're going to look at some equations. So here's what I want to start out with. If I had some kind of absolute value with stuff inside and it equals, let's say, 7. The question is, how many different things could this thing be so that we still get 7? So that's my question. It's a weird question, but I think this could be regular 7, right? Because the absolute value, if I put a 7 in here, the absolute value of 7 is just 7. So 7 equals 7. Yes, that works. But I could also put in a negative 7 because, same thing, if I put a negative 7 in here, the absolute value makes the negative go away because it's the distance away from 0. So I get 7 equals 7 again. So there's actually 7 and negative 7 actually work inside here. So there's 2 answers. That's the idea of today's equations. There's going to be 2 answers. So let's take a look at the first example. So we have the absolute value of 2 plus x equals 7. Now remember that this inside we could put in a negative 7 or a positive 7. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the inside, I'm going to write it separately, 2 plus x, and I'm going to say this can equal a regular 7. If I put a regular 7 in here, it would give me a regular 7 outside. Or the inside, the 2 plus x, that can equal negative 7. Either way, the absolute values will take care of the sign and make it into a positive 7. So let's just solve these and see what we get, and I'll check the answer afterwards. So I would subtract 2 from both sides to get rid of that. The x would be by itself. And I get 7, 6, 5, so positive 5. Or there's another answer that I can use, and that would be, well, I do the same steps, minus 2, minus 2. Negative 7 minus 2 is x equals negative 9. 7, 8, 9, yeah. So these are my 2 answers. Now let's check that, just to make sure. If I put in a 5, then I would have the absolute value of 2 plus, and then I'll put in a 5, equals 7. And let's see. I would simplify the inside of the absolute value first before I evaluate the absolute value. 2 plus 5 is 7. Carry down the absolute values. Carry down the equal sign. I'm not solving, I'm just checking. So the absolute value of 7 is just 7, and of course 7 equals 7. So that works. But also, I want to check this negative 9. So let's see. The absolute value of 2 plus negative 9 equals 7. So I plugged in the negative 9 there. And when I'm adding a negative, that's the same thing as subtracting. So I'm going to say I have 2, sorry, not plus anymore, 2 minus 9. So adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting. And let's see what happens. So I get 2 minus 9 is negative 7. And then the absolute value, since there's one number in there, the absolute value of negative 7 is regular 7. So 7 equals 7. That's correct. So both of these answers work. That's why you need to set up 2 equations. So let's see. I'll write down the steps on this one. All right, example 2. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the inside and copying it down without the absolute value. So x minus 6 and equals to 32. Just write that number as it is. And then the other solution would involve x minus 6 equals negative 32. So you make two equations with one being exactly the same without absolute value and the other one almost the same, just make the number negative. Because remember, the inside could be negative. And this is the inside. And you just solve both of them. This time I would add 6 to both sides. And I get x equals 38. And then on the other one, plus 6 plus 6, x equals, well, negative 32 plus 6, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, negative 26. And those are my answers. Pretty simple. So you make two equations and then solve each of them. The thing that's different is that negative on this other equation. So one equation exactly the same without absolute value. The other one almost the same. We just put in a negative on that other side. Let's look at a third example. So on this one, we do the same thing. We make two equations. One of them without the absolute value, 15x equals 45. And then the other one is 15x equals negative 45. Remember to put in that negative. And then this is a one-step equation, and I'm doing 15 times x. So to get the x by itself, I would divide by 15. So I have x equals 45 divided by 15. I think that's 3. So that's one of my answers. The other one, well, I do the same exact step. I just get a negative. So x equals negative 3, right? Because negative divided by a positive is a negative. So that's it. All you're doing is making two equations. One of them has a negative, and then you solve both of them to get both of the answers that work. And we're done.